I'd like to say it, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. People that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, we forget. I'd like to say it, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less.
Did you see that? Did you?
Good evening, people. Happy Thirsty Thursday and welcome to the Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty. You're all very welcome here this evening. Thanks a lot for joining me. How are you doing? How are we brewing, I should say? Socialists in the area represent. Okay, we got Nina Sadie first in the chat. Hope you're brewing nicely this evening. Doc Davies as well, Mobius, how you doing, Mo? Thanks for joining me nice and early on the stream. Make sure you've hit thumbs up, please, people, as you arrive. I want to kick off this evening with a show of gratitude for everybody who's responded to the recent video on the channel, which has been doing quite well. Thank you very much for that. But lots of great comments as well. This is what really helps smaller channels like this one out on the old algorithm. So thanks for your contributions in the comments there. And between that and the video that came out before that, we're getting close to 4,000 subscribers now. We're roughly at 3,950-ish. Just before I came onto you on tonight's stream. So that's great stuff. Who knows? The next time I'm with you on a live stream, it could be the 4K celebratory one. So that last video, that was about the Kate Nash appearance at the festival that we talked about on a live stream. Did a bit of a video about that. Of course it was members only first, if you all remember. Yeah, you got to see that one a little bit earlier. So thanks again. Thanks for those sentiments in the chat as well, Nina Sadian, Morbius, great stuff. I can see some watermelons making an appearance as well already. Yeah, of course, get into the latest on Gaza during the stream. But the word out on the street, people, is that it's officially certified that this new left party is forming. And there's been a great show of interest so far. With a mad rush for people to sign up for information about this party. So I'll be getting into that. In a panic, Starmer's made somewhat of a reaction as well, but it's frustratingly poor, of course. It's just the latest move in his, what would you call it? His weather vane persona. Basically, the man is incapable of coming up with anything original himself. He just imitates others depending on which he thinks is the most popular at the time. In a lot of cases. But what we also know that he does have certain, what's the word I'm looking for, baked in, wired in sort of remits, including who he's lobbied by and his attitude towards nationalisation, so on and so forth. Anyway, more about that later. As well as this new party, that's where I'm going to be focusing more on as we get started. Oh, that's better. Nice fresh steamy brew here in the studio. There's more coming out about Trump and the Epstein files as well. I'll be going into that. Sorry, the titles for the videos and streams can only be so long, but I will be going into what's happened with Ghislaine Maxwell, who of course has already been convicted for her role in those, well, illegal sex trafficking rings. But she's being interviewed by officials, so quite telling as well as interesting in the same regard. I mean, if the game's not up by now for Trump, then it will be very shortly, based on some statements that have come out since I was last with you on a stream on Tuesday, I think it was. Yeah, it was Tuesday. Of course, no PMQs this week, no Wednesday live stream, people. Not to say that I won't be doing live streams on Wednesdays in the coming weeks during the summer break, but they just won't feature Keith's catchphrases and the PMQs session in the HOC. Bit of a break there. Absolutely more. Left is best. The thing is, you just have to be plain honest and decent. It's harder. It's almost like, you know, it's harder to be right-wing. They have to cover up their own bullshit with God knows what all the time. And, you know, scrolling through whatever device to see what Yaxley Lennon or Farage has tweeted most recently, and then, oh, okay, that's my opinion today. I can't back it up with any logic, reasoning, or even basic common decency. But there you go. Of course, it's always best here on the left. All socialists welcome here on the live stream. And like I said, we picked up a lot of subs from the last couple of videos, so if you're new to us here on the Brews at 10, just getting into live streams, it's great to have you with us as well. Picked up a few new members also in the last couple of days, so thank you very much to everybody. This is the hot off the press latest list of marvellous members, so consider yourself most welcome, however long you've been a member on the channel. Thanks to all of you for your continued support. As we get towards further goals and break down further barriers, who knows, could even reach 4,000 subscribers, I should say, on this very stream. Who knows? So give it a share around your social media this evening, please, people. Make sure you've hit thumbs up as we approach that landmark. I'm pleased to say we're also still over 100 into the membership goal of 250, so thank you very much to each and every one of you. There's the confirmation of the membership goal, and bring you good people into the equation now. Let's be seeing you good people. There you are. And welcome to Genie Bottle. Nice to have you on the stream. Thanks for joining us tonight. Just getting warmed up before we get into articles, clips, that kind of thing, and go through the latest events from a left-wing perspective, even. I can just see a few comments in the chat about Starmer pretty much very worried, backed himself further into this corner. It's the same with Lammy. I guess it's really the same as any of the cabinet who are lobbied by Israel, of which there are many. So on the one hand, they have to appease people who've paid them quite handsomely, it has to be said, when you look at the figures. Certainly amounts of money that I'm sure none of us would turn our noses up at. But there's that versus, again, just basic moral decency. You know, the realisation that you've backed the wrong horse, you're going to be on the wrong side of history. So instead of throwing their arms up and saying, oh look, you know, I've made an honest mistake there, no, they try and play both sides. And all that I've seen keep happening since Starmer put this statement out, which I'll go into in a short amount of time, is the reminder of that statement on LBC regarding cutting off power and water to Gazans when he was interviewed by Nick Ferrari. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Might not 100% be in verbatim, but it roughly went Starmer saying Israel has a right to defend itself, and then Nick Ferrari said basically what? Cutting off power, cutting off water, Sirkia, and then say it with me, let's all say it together, because we know what he said and people like to remind him, and I certainly like to remind him any chance I can. He said Israel does have that right. With regards to water and power specifically, it was a direct question. I went over that, I think, at the time when it happened, of course. I know that you're all familiar with that, so I've seen that posted in response to that probably dozens of times as I've been scrolling through already, so more on that later. First up though, the thing which possibly had a hand in prompting Starmer to make, oh, I'm the good guy now. Yeah, so come on David, we're the good guys. We're not enablers. Too little too late. So now it's official, even though it's still unnamed. This new party, which the website which has been set up of is called Your Party. So I guess just for the sake of consistency, that's what I'll refer to it as until it gets a name. The smart money's on Party McPartyface, just so you know. Bit of insider knowledge there. Okay. So obviously, Jeremy and Zara need no introduction. Members for St. Holborn. No, start again, fool. The members for North Islington and Coventry South, respectively. So I'll skim over this. There's a video that has an interview with Corbyn where he goes over some of the points about the new party. But I'll just quickly go over the basics. Corbyn said it would offer an alternative to the control freaks of Labour and the dangerously divisive politics of Reform UK. Well, it's been that way for some time. I'll tell a very quick, condensed version of this story for anyone who's not heard me tell it before. And I have this on pretty good authority, I do have to say. Way back in 2015, just months after Keir Starmer had signed up to the Labour Party, they were discussing who would take over as leader, with Ed Miliband having not done so well at the previous general election. One particular person at the meeting stood up and very enthusiastically, very boisterously suggested none other than Sir Keir Starmer. The response to which was people either hadn't heard of him, or a couple of people just muttered, "Wait a minute, isn't he the former Director of Public Prosecutions?" Yeah, so that was way back in 2015, and that person, that enthusiastic nominator, was none other than, drumroll please, Ewan Blair, son of Tony. Ewan Blair, son of Tony. You know what I'm talking about, people. Okay. At the risk of setting off the tangent alert alarm. The joint issued statement between Jeremy and Zara said it's time for a new kind of political party, one that belongs to you. That's you, that's me, that's you. Watching, wherever you are, it's all of us. He emphasised that it's going to be community-led, community-based, grassroots-led, and this is going to be very different, and you know what, it's going to be fun. Well, that's very refreshing as well, because one thing I certainly advocate for is more representation at a grassroots level, at a local level. Also, very supportive of citizens' assemblies or people's assemblies, whichever you prefer to call them, but grassroots democracy really is what we need in this country. And I say that as someone who's been active with the Humanity Project. If you want to check out more about local assemblies and things, I suggest you get on that. a free plug there for the Humanity Project. Oh, of course. It was co-founded by Roger Hallam, who's currently in prison. He was also co-founder of Just Stop Oil, and he's one of the Whole Truth 5 who received record sentences for environmental protest or conspiracy charges in Roger's specific case. Anyway, I'll play a clip. I've got a longer version of this interview. It's 30 seconds there on the BBC, but I've got more. And I've also got members. Sorry, wrong button there. So, see what Jeremy's got to say about your party.
We announced this today. We announced the broad framework. A lot of support's coming in, and I'm doing a lot of meetings and events all around the country over the next week or so, and then through August and September a lot more.
Just on paper, it sounds like you've launched a party, but you don't have a name. You don't know when the inaugural conference is going to be. There was some confusion over who would co-lead the party. You had Zara Sultana announce that she would with you, and then 2 days later she wouldn't. It looks a bit messy, doesn't it?
Just quickly coming in there to see, I've seen that face. I've seen Jeremy Corbyn make that face before. Of course, I voted for him in 17 and 19. The two respective general elections there, and it's the knowing what the journalist is going to start getting at, knowing, spotting the bullshit a mile away, smelling it from miles and miles away. So he knew that they were going to try and say, oh no, it's been a disastrous start, it's been what were her exact words, a bit of a mess, was it? Or just
that she would with you, and then 2 days later she wouldn't. It looks a bit messy, doesn't it?
Yeah, she said it looks a bit messy. Well, I'll tell you what doesn't look so messy. Sorry, I don't know the name of the interviewer, but I'll say madam. Yes, I presumed a pronoun. Apologies. But 500 sign-ups a minute to this website, which is called, it's yourparty.org, I think, is it? I'm not sure of the full name. I've not signed up myself, but 500 a minute. Probably as I'm speaking to you, there have been over 100,000 sign-ups. Just to be very clear, these I don't think will be official memberships. It's sign-up of interest. You'll get newsletters or whatever in your email when you sign up, that sort of thing. I don't think it's actually officially memberships, but I can imagine huge, large percentage of people who are showing interest to want to actually officially sign up automatically. So we can, you know, for the sake of discussion, we'll just say that we can expect similar numbers of membership. Now, that's already roughly going on 20% of the kind of membership numbers that Labour had under Corbyn when they were the biggest party in Europe, going on 600,000 members, which has dropped dramatically since Starmer took the reins, of course, as well as union funding and support in general. But I really think that they could get towards similar numbers, perhaps not the full 600k, but best estimates for me, based on how far away the election is, I would estimate roughly 350 to 400,000 might become members before the next general election. But let me know how far you think this could go. Also, I'd love to know in the chat or in the comments, if you're watching back later, if you've signed up. So let me know what the deal is. And yeah, let me know if you're thinking about it. Keep me posted.
It's not messy at all. It's a totally coherent approach. It's democratic, it's grassroots, and it's open. And Zara and I have sent out this statement today, which has had a massive pickup already. The Independent Alliance of MPs have sent out a broadly similar, identical statement in support of it as well. And we will then develop from there. But the broad political principles are there, and that's the important thing, important message to get across. Listen, people have had enough out there. They're fed up.
Yeah, that's the main point. It's a new system. It's something refreshing. It's something that can give people genuine hope. You know, the so-called legacy parties and the old system itself of first past the post is just so redundantly dull and outdated. It makes you want to bang your head against the wall, knowing that you're going into that booth, whoever you vote for, you're more than likely going to be unrepresented than represented, which is obviously not what democracy's about whatsoever. And I won't go into the full ins and outs of how citizens' assemblies can start this movement, as it were, this change in the way that we do things, right the way up to a government level, to a national level. But once again, please do check out organisations such as the Humanity Project, humanityproject.org, if you want to find out more about what they're about, and if you're interested in starting an assembly in your community, wherever you're from. This is music to my ears, really. Do share your thoughts with me in the chat, people.
With seeing cuts to their services, threats to personal independence payments, continuing child poverty, waspy women shortchanged by the government, and the only thing they can find money for is more weapons of war. The problem is that ahead of the last general election, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves boxed themselves in by saying they would never change any level of taxation, particularly for the richest in our society.
Yeah, so they're just going to be treading water, and if not, then metaphorically, that is drowning, because if you can't increase the flow of money, that is, to stimulate the economy, and this is through capitalist economic lens, the way that capitalism is seen. So this isn't just my opinion, this is the way it's actually supposed to work, air quotes work. But no, what's actually going on is stagnation because of that, and of course the wealth gap that comes with it, the poverty that continues, as well as the wealth hoarding and the greed by the CEOs, the billionaires. So that's it, case in point. And again, that's just something else that has to be eradicated, not in the sense of greed, but in the sense of fairness. So well said, Jeremy. And I'll quickly read the full statements. It's not very long. But I'll need some background music, please, Philip. Thank you. Alright, this came out early. Oh no, that's Starmer's. That's spoiler alert. That comes later. You might have seen that already though. I've got this on a bookmark, I think. Yeah. Just load that up now. On Jeremy Corbyn's Twitter, always Twitter, never X. Come on, you know you want to load. That's it. Do it for democracy. Do it for Jeremy. Do it now. Thank you. Sign up. It's time for a new kind of political party, one that belongs to you, says Jeremy. After this, I'll get into a little bit, you know, some people have suggested it might split the left even further, as it were. But I don't particularly buy that, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So, it's time for a new kind of political party, one that belongs to you. Very simple, short beginning to the statement. The system is rigged. The system is rigged when 4.5 million children live in poverty in the 6th richest economy in the world. The system is rigged when giant corporations make a fortune from rising bills. The system is rigged when this government says there's no money for the poor, but billions for war. We cannot accept these injustices, and neither should you. We will only fix the crisis in our society with mass redistribution of wealth and power. That means taxing the very richest in our society. That means an NHS free from privatisation and bringing energy, water, rail and mail into public ownership. That means investing in massive council house building programmes. That means standing up to fossil fuel giants and putting their profits before our planet. I've got more on climate updates later in the stream, by the way, people. Meanwhile, millions of people are horrified by the government's complicity in crimes against humanity. Now more than ever, we must defend our right to protest against genocide. We believe in the we believe in the radical idea that all human life has equal value. It's very small writing, apologies. That is why we'll keep demanding an end to all arms sales to Israel, and the only path to peace being freedom and a free and independent Palestine. It goes on, it's just a little more. Our movement is made up of people of all faiths and none. The great dividers want you to think that the problems in our society are caused by migrants or refugees. They're not. They're caused by an economic system that protects the interests of corporations and billionaires. It's ordinary people who create the wealth, and it's ordinary people who have the power to put it back where it belongs. Yes, and I just quickly want to say that Zach Polanski put out a really impressive video concerning positivity and the scapegoating of migrants as well, which I do suggest that you check out if you've not come across that one yet. So Jeremy and Zara finish by saying it's time for a new kind of political party, one that's rooted in our communities, trade unions and social movements, one that builds power in all religions and nations, one that belongs to you. Sign up at yourparty.uk, not .org, to be part of the founding process leading to an inaugural conference. At this conference you'll decide the party's direction, the model of leadership and the policies that are needed to transform society. This is how we build a democratic movement that can take on the rich and powerful and win. Very good. Yes, so the exact date of this conference hasn't been disclosed yet, but there is going to be one. Not sure if there'll just be one full national conference. They might do a little bit of a campaign tour as well, but if not, might be jumping on a train or a megabus in the autumn. Might be able to bring you some quality exclusive content there, people. So I'm feeling positive about this. Just quickly on to this split in the left rhetoric that's going around. Like I said, I won't really have it. I'd rather be spoilt for choice for left parties than have zero, or maybe, you know, a fraction of one. And I'm hoping that there's going to be a great what shall I say, partnership or working together between the Greens, this new party, whatever it might be, and all of the grassroots parties and socialist independents, of course, as well. Just a quick mention on that front. Actually, a few days ago, the Trade Union Socialist Coalition announced that they are officially going to be partnering, going to be in league with this new party. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask as well, throw your suggestions for the new party in the chat or in the comments if you're watching back later. I've already had some on some previous content on the channel. I would say that the one that's definitely been suggested the most so far is the Real Labour Party, but I'd rather it not include the word Labour at all. I'd be pretty much against that. This has to be, for the sake of emphasising just how new this is, I think that they really do have to completely burn those bridges, cut those ties, and don't mention Labour in the name of the party. You can't rule out party face. Some people say that's where the smart money is at the moment. Now, let's say, on a hypothetical level, of course, people, if it did go to a vote and that one did win, do you think that it could end up being named Party McPartyface? I don't know. I think that would be a very... I wouldn't be against it. I'd be more for that than it having the word Labour in the title, that's for sure. And I believe we've had a raid. From Kevin Logan. Thanks a lot for the raid there, brother. Everybody, if you're not familiar with Kevin Logan, I suggest you go and check out his content and subscribe. Great streamer as well. Often teams up with Helena at No Justice. And he's been making appearances on other channels like Turn Left recently as well. Great guy as well. Thanks again, Kev. Solidarity for the raid. Please make sure you've hit thumbs up as you join us here on My Left Eye, people. You're very welcome here. We were just going over the new left-wing party news. And if you're not familiar with the channel, this is Space for Socialists. You're all very welcome here if you're on the left. We discuss politics and sociology from that perspective and point of view. Okay, let's just move on. I'll quickly go back to that article. Oh, also, I'm not sure where these exact numbers come from, where the data comes from, but I did hear it mentioned on a mainstream source that apparently so far between 10 and 15% of voters, that is, have expressed an interest in the party. That is to suggest that they would get that percentage of the votes. That wouldn't obviously equate to seats under first past the post. It'd get very convoluted, of course, but that's really good. Straight off the bat, before they've even got a name, let's remind ourselves, and this article's just saying as well, that at a general election even a fairly modest share of the vote could leave Labour at risk of losing quite a few seats, even if not directly to the new party. And I won't have this, oh, you're handing the election to reform now business, because I think Starmer was doing a pretty good job of that himself before this new party was formed. Was he not? Just look at the numbers, look at the dip in popularity with the surge in the polls for reform. On a recent video I highlighted that Labour might end up with around 25 seats. 25 seats. And Reform set to gain over 340, was it? So he, you know, and this is all without this new party. That was just because of Starmer's ineptitude. The very definition of madness, repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results, i.e. attempting to bring voters from Reform to Labour based on immigration policy. If they've actually swallowed that BS, you know, the whole immigration rhetoric, then they're going to go to Reform anyway. And that's just something that Starmer refuses to acknowledge. But you do have to acknowledge that as a political fact, whether you like it or not. Nina Sadie, thank you very much for the gifted membership. Awesome. That takes up to 110. Brilliant. Solidari-Tea for that. Just change the total there. Great stuff, yes. Rachel Atwood, enjoy your perks there. Just back to this point here. Their first test, that is this new party, their first test may come sooner. It now seems likely to be up and running in time for the locals in May 26, which include council elections in London and other cities, which are likely to prove the most fertile territory for this party of anywhere. Yet London, I would say, certainly here in Manchester as well as other cities, Liverpool of course, having great socialist historical roots, as you'll Newcastle as well. You'll find there's a lot of correlation there as well, especially with former cities where there was formerly thriving docking industry, for example, and the unions that came along with that obviously contributed massively to Labour. Obviously when these docks, shipyards, etc. Were at the heights, which is now in history. So then it follows, obviously, that those cities will stay that way politically. Anyway, I'm waffling. Apologies. Amber tangent warning. So it looks like we could get the litmus test in less than a year, next May. So that'll be 10 months down the line. Well, they tend to be in the first week of May, don't they? So even less than that. Labour's internal vulnerability, it says, to its left flank was left flank. What left flank? I mean, straight up, people. With things being the way that they are now, current status, who would you say was the furthest left in the Labour Party? Which member? Yeah, there is no left flank. See, that's got you thinking, you know. But anyway, that was shown most recently by the Prime Minister's last-minute U-turn on his welfare plans, it says, eventually pushing through a gutted bill by just 75 votes despite having a working majority of 165. Rumours of a Corbyn-led party have been rumbling for months, but Sultana appeared to have jumped the gun when she quit the Labour Party at the start of this month and announced she would be co-founding a new party with him. I think that had already been arranged. I just think it was supposed to sort of stay a secret for a little bit longer. One thing that's been overlooked is that shortly before Sultana's announcement, there was a sort of tease from Corbyn in an interview with Robert Peston on ITV about a new party that he didn't deny, shall we say, that he would be at least having a part in the leadership of. So it wasn't that much of a surprise if you follow the chain of events. I think the mainstream media are trying to make more of a deal out of that than it is, along with trying to say that it's a cock-up. But if making a cock-up out of it gets you 500 sign-ups every minute, then I think everyone will be doing it. That's more or less it for the article. That's it for the story. That's all I'll add myself at this point. It's very early days. Very early days, isn't it, people? But potentially exciting times. I'll just conclude by emphasising that there has to be that same movement in direction by all other parties, socialist independents, grassroots, and so on. The coming together has to be now. And I do have to say, there have been times when I genuinely believed that 2019 might have been the last shot at socialism, perhaps for decades. And now this really does bring about a new hope, and I'm quite optimistic, which I think you have to be. Of course, the establishment will try and come down on it like a shit ton of bricks, but that's to be expected. Let us move on, people. I'll be getting into something else in just a moment. Make sure you've hit those buttons, people. I'll get on to Starmer's response. What I and a lot of others strongly suspect it was his response to the formation of this party, with apparently trying to seem like he's actually doing something about Gaza. I'll come on to that later as I get into other updates about Gaza as well. But for now, I'm just going to stick with another domestic affair. We will go over to the States, not literally, but the stories concerning the States will be coming up. First of all, here in the UK, it's been confirmed that the planned strikes will go ahead from the British Medical Association. Let's see what's happening here, people. Starmer pleads with resident doctors to halt strike. I'm sure that Streeting will have something to say about that as well.
But shut up, Wesley.
Let's have a skim through the article. Oh, he's written an article in the Times, as the Prime Minister. He says it will cause a huge loss for the NHS and the country, as he criticised the BMA for rushing into strikes. So that's a 5-day strike in England, which starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow, is that right? The BMA have said that they're very sorry that the strikes have become necessary, and they were something that doctors don't want to have to do, which is true. The pittance of a rise that they've been offered is nowhere near what they deserve. That was around 5%, 5.4%. And despite Starmer and Streeting's claims, the BMA says wages are still around 20% lower in real terms than in 2008 after an increase in August. Yeah, again, you have to look at inflation, prices, etc., how far your money goes. And the further they drag the feet in paying doctors and nurses properly, the worse that gets. Because you don't get deflation in capitalism, you get hyperinflation. Oh yes. Take your wages home in a wheelbarrow, but it won't buy you a loaf of bread. And by the time you get home, it will have depreciated by 50% anyway. Yeah, but that's the way that the system is anyway. So 5 days. If you do come across a picket, I do hope that you'll show your solidarity and support. They've also said improvements needed from the government on the cost of equipment, food and drink, and they're prepared to explore how many further training posts could be created. They negotiated for 5 days, but those talks have now collapsed. And I do firmly believe that they've been left with no choice. I really do. I completely support this strike, this action. And the same goes for all NHS staff as well, especially considering what they went through during those awful COVID years. So what do you think about that, people? Let me know in the chat. Just quickly wanted to keep you up to speed with that one. Okay, I get on to matters stateside in just one moment, people. Just give me a couple of moments to top up my drink and I'll be right back with you. 1 sec. Alright, people. Well, I guess it's another entry in the tisk files as well, as we discuss some other files, the Epstein files, and another word you might associate with Trump that ends in file as well, if you know what I mean. See what I did there?
Damn right!
So yeah, fella on the left, probably dead, perhaps died in spurious circumstances, missing minutes on a surveillance video, etc. Maxwell, yes, of the same Maxwell as Robert, daughter of, in prison for her role in child trafficking, essentially. Now, the Senior Justice Department, just ignore the victims don't matter at all. Let's just bypass those and go straight to Maxwell, which I can't say is great optics either. But what's this all about? So it's now been confirmed, and that Donald Trump himself was informed in May that he's named in said files, which at one point it was saying didn't exist at all. Trump implored people to stop talking about them, then decided to try and persuade people that they didn't exist when they actually do. And he knew that they were in existence because he was told that he features in them in May. He also tried to distract people by changing the recipe of Coca-Cola slightly, which didn't have the desired impact. Okay, so Maxwell, who's a piece of shit and will be serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking, is going to meet with the Justice Department. That took place today, actually. Well, US time. Perhaps it's already taken place, that is. An attorney for Maxwell, David Marcus, told the BBC that he would not comment on the substance of the discussions, but said, "There were a lot of questions and we went all day." Of course, she's in prison for trafficking to nobody, of course. Not a single person has been named. The operators themselves were both incarcerated. One of them's now deceased, as I said, under what has strongly been suggested as suspicious circumstances. The official ruling being suicide, of course. But they didn't have any clients. They didn't have any customers, apparently. They were convicted, you know, on nothing. So oh yeah, earlier this week as well, I think Trump had tried to get some files released that he thought would exonerate him, but the judge denied that. Some sections of some files, I think, that he might have perhaps tried to handpick, that he thought he could create a pastiche of to make it look like he's innocent. I'm not sure. Yes, it's yourparty.uk. Sorry, if you want me to repeat the address of the new left party, Your Party. Party McPartyface. I mean, why not just go with, you know, the Turbo Lenin, Marx was right, Lefty, awesome squad? I don't know. Bit of a mouthful at the doorstep. Excuse me, sir, have you considered voting for the... And then you'd say the name of the party. No, it's getting dark. We've been out for 5 hours. We managed to canvass 17 houses because the party name was that long. Right, back to the article, lest we tangent. Yesterday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi, Pam Bondi, who has a license to kill investigations, informed Trump during a May briefing about his name appearing. The White House pushed back, dismissing the story as, "Let's all say it together, people, fake news." Being named in the documents is not evidence of any criminal activity, nor has Trump ever been accused of wrongdoing in connection with the Epstein case. I guess that is technically true. You could say, you know, one statement said, "I went to such and such's house on my way to Epstein Island where such and such awful event took place." But I think it's strongly been suggested that his name comes up a lot. While it doesn't confirm criminal activity, it doesn't exonerate it either. Nothing to hide, eh? Nothing to put out. It's not just the president, let's be honest. It's been rumoured that a lot of other very well-known personalities on there as well, including other former presidents. It has been said, allegedly, asterisk, asterisk. Republicans on the House Oversight Committee have also subpoenaed Maxwell to testify before the panel remotely from prison on the 11th of August. Can they film that? I don't know if they can film that, but if they can, well, that'd be interesting. Of course, she deserves to spend the rest of her life in there for what she's done, but at the moment it looks as though quite a lot of people are getting off scot-free. And I guess in the case of Jeffrey, you know, dead men don't talk. House Speaker Mike Johnson warned that Maxwell, who for years helped Epstein groom and sexually abuse these girls, cannot be trusted to provide accurate testimony. Again, that is true, because if they're capable of such things, just generally being a lying piece of crap might be somewhat of a more minor offence, but again, can you really trust anything? It's not expected that just because she's already incarcerated she'll see it as having nothing to lose and spill the beans when you often get into the nitty-gritty of this kind of level of treachery in these networks. It becomes not just you personally who is potentially, shall we say, at risk. It could be other people who you know, the real sort of greaseball crap. Who knows what's going on? There's only going to be further speculation unless these files are released, so well, that's just an interview with some members of the American public, some Vox Pox. You'll excuse me if we forego those statements. I'll keep you up to speed with that story. Did someone say Peter Mandel? You know who. Haha. You know what I'm talking about, people. Happy birthday, Jeffrey. Look, blow out your candles. Ugh. Literally makes my skin crawl. Let's move on. Yeah, so quickly back over to Starmer and his reaction. This will tie us in with the latest on Gaza, and I've got a great clip, a combination of clips actually, coming up just after we quickly check out Keith's response. Now, it's been nearly 2 years. We know who he's lobbied by, only now because even the BBC have emphasised the level of famine in Gaza, as well as the attacks on the journalists. But he's come out with this pittance of a statement as though that would sway people away from yourparty.uk and perhaps get them back all to back onto oldlabour.org, which I don't think they will. I'm glad that I cut up my card a very long time ago. No regrets. Okay, so he says, and I won't do the voice through the whole thing. I'll do you maybe a sentence here and there, but I'll read this normally. Unless someone wants to, you know, gift 500 memberships in the next 2 seconds. Okay, I'll just read it normally. The suffering and starvation unfolding in Gaza is unspeakable and indefensible. While the situation has been grave for some time, it has reached new depths and continues to worsen. We are witnessing a humanitarian catastrophe. This is what he's going to do. This is his mega plan, people. But boy, oh boy, this is really going to be strong. You're going to be proud to be a member of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, when you see this absolute onslaught against these injustices. Hold on to your seats, people. He's going to have a telephone call with E3 partners tomorrow. It can wait. Where he'll discuss. It's already, you know, been going on 2 years. 1 day. Who cares? There's probably only a couple of hundred of Gazans will be dead by this time tomorrow anyway. Hey, Keith. So they'll discuss what they can do to urgently stop the killing and get the people the food desperately need while pulling... Sorry, I'm not obviously laughing at the situation. It's the fact that these are Starmer's words. Laughably poor and... yeah. Where was I? Get people the food they desperately need while pulling together all the steps necessary to build a lasting peace. We also agree on the pressing need for Israel to change course, and allow the aid that is desperately needed to enter Gaza without delay. I'm sure I heard almost the same in verbatim a month ago at the dispatch box, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Almost the same words coming from David Lammy. There's still nothing. It's like when Elon Musk keeps telling people that they'll have colonised Mars by next year, or that your new self-driving taxi will be out by next year, and alas, nothing ever comes of it. Sorry, just move that down slightly to display the membership goal. And he finishes, it's hard to see a hopeful future in such dark times, but I must reiterate my call for all sides to engage in good faith and at pace to bring about an immediate ceasefire and for Hamas to get hostages. We strongly support the efforts of the United States, Qatar and Egypt to secure this. We are clear that statehood is the inalienable right of the Palestinian people. A ceasefire will put us on a path to recognition of a Palestinian state and a two-state solution which guarantees peace and security for Palestinians and Israelis. So no mention of full sanctions, full trade embargo, getting the British Army to help the aid get through. A telephone call tomorrow for further discussion, because boy oh boy, this requires immediate discussion. Underhill and JK, welcome to the chat. And I do agree with those sentiments about the first word I associate with him. Liar. When he writes statements like this, he's under immense pressure to not be too favourable towards Palestine, of course. Because he's paid to essentially always try and highlight that the hostage situation is the sort of core of all this thing. to say that the lives of 20 people who are alive are worth that of hundreds of thousands dead and wounded. Yeah. Plus famine, plus innumerable other atrocities. What can you say about priorities? Yes, of course, I do want the hostage release or exchange to come with the ceasefire. Naturally. That goes without saying. We're not monsters. But that's not going to come about by further bombardment the way Netanyahu thinks that it does. It's only going to happen literally with a handshake across the table, perhaps in a room in Qatar. So at the moment, just where the ceasefire is concerned, the talks are on hold. They've not been railroaded as of yet, for obvious reasons, and I'm sure that you'll feel the same way. Anytime there are mentions of talks, I do always take them with a pinch of salt. Netanyahu, of course, having the reputation of ruining them at the last moment, either by breaking an agreement or by other nefarious means. One person who's been continually outspoken about this, someone who I'm sure will be a familiar face to viewers, Humza Zumlot, has been doing the news rounds recently, especially concerning the aforementioned famine, which is now a stage 5 famine, the highest grading that there is, according to the United Nations, which puts the entire population at risk. Even the aid workers themselves are subject to starvation at this point. I will remind you, and I've heard some absolutely heartbreaking individual stories about children who used to be positive, lively, and if anything overactive, now being complete shells of themselves, having lost a tremendous amount of weight in a short amount of time. One person having described the people, the civilians of Gaza, not as being alive or dead, but as walking around in literally a zombie-like state. So let's hear what Humza's been saying about this. He's got a great reputation for how he handles journalists. So I do hope you enjoy this little compilation. I think it starts off with an interview on Channel 4.
The devastation of malnutrition in Gaza is clear, and perhaps the only hope was that it would put pressure on both sides to come to secure a ceasefire. What is your understanding of where those talks are now?
Well, as your report says, it doesn't look good. Israel is absolutely adamantly want this genocide to continue. They want a pause in the genocide, but they are insisting that this will continue. And, you know, they are very public about it. A minister of theirs this morning saying that Gaza, thank God, is being wiped out via our government. They are bragging about it. They are very proud about it. And they want to press ahead with it. So, as long as we are unable to change Israel's position, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't look like the main mediator here.
The Americans who have left Doha have been quite clear. They have decided to bring their teams home, saying it is Hamas, who do not appear to be operating in good faith.
What we see, what we follow, what we know is that it is the Israeli position that is the real stumbling block, not just now. For the last 22 months, it was a U.S. proposed ceasefire 3 times that was actually accepted by all sides, and then Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, breached every one of them. So no, the record is very clear. This Israeli government is absolutely insisting on continuing its campaign of erasure, extermination,
the thing
annihilation of the Palestinian people. Jackie,
the thing
this
is that
has
the
nothing to do.
Americans, the Americans have in recent weeks and months changed their language. They have been much more critical of Israel. So they are now saying the problem lies with Hamas. They are saying in their...
Oh, please, please, at least give people a shred of respect for their intelligence. For heaven's sake, there isn't any aid getting in for Hamas to steal. Bottom line. Bottom line. But we've seen attacks on convoys by the IDF, and we've also seen illegal occupiers, Israeli civilians attacking aid trucks as well, and flour trucks and water trucks and so on. And celebrating a famine. This is the absolutely twisted mindset that we're dealing with here, people. But to keep trying to, blame Hamas, it simply doesn't wash anymore. Come on, this is long debunked. For Channel 4 as a mainstream outlet, that's very low standards. That's pretty cringe, as far as I'm concerned. And that's even before you consider the fact that they've literally admitted that civilians have been targeted at aid distribution centres, which unfortunately are more like bullet distribution centres at the moment.
Statement, alternative option.
Apologies. Just
And the devastation.
Really position that is the real stumbling block, not just now for the last 22 months. It was a US proposed. So no, the record is very clear. This Israeli government is absolutely insisting on continuing its campaign of erasure, extermination, annihilation of the Palestinian people. Jackie,
the thing
this
is that
has
the
nothing
Americans,
to do.
the Americans have in recent weeks and months changed their language. They have been much more critical of Israel. So they are now saying the problem lies with Hamas. They are saying in their statement, alternative options to bring the hostages home will be considered. What do you interpret that to mean?
I interpret it as hypocrisy, because the US on the one hand is very critical, is calling out Israeli crimes, but at the same time providing them with all the weapons, the arms, the financial support, the legal cover, the diplomatic support. History will write, the history books will write about this. It will write that Gaza is not just the biggest graveyard of children. Jackie, Gaza has 2.3 million people who are now being starved. Remember...
Sorry, just to interrupt again. One thing that comes to mind, people, and I'd like to get your 2 cents on this, if you care to indulge me in the chat, or in the comments if you're watching back later on. But specifically where the hostages are concerned, have you considered the fact that obviously America is known for having special arms units, same as the UK? There have been operations in the past to break people out of prison, release hostages, so on and so forth, or even in certain cases assassinations. When you consider that and the apparent official story about how Osama bin Laden met his demise springs to mind as well. Do you think that, for example, America could launch an operation which could get them back, and perhaps they're choosing not to do that for some reason? Or do you think that this whole, and let's be honest, it's guerrilla style warfare, and they've been there and come back with the tail between the legs before, in Vietnam and Iraq, for example. But do you think that's the case, that they simply have once again met their match in this guerrilla warfare, in this, well, I would say building to building kind of scenario, as it's been described to me, and I've seen footage and photographic evidence of myself. Is this what's happening? So, you know, this is what's happened in the past, despite the overwhelming might of the United States and Israel combined. They still end up in this quagmire, as they did, I guess, most recently, of course, in Iraq and Afghanistan.
But 1 million of them are children. And your report
question-
just and your report and your
exactly
report
on
and
that
your
point.
report just called the entire population of Gaza are walking corpses. Your report
Exactly
quoted.
on the point about the people of Gaza who are starving. Surely Hamas have to move. They have to move, or people will continue to starve.
Move where? Move where? It's Israel that is
No,
sending
they
all
move,
of it.
they have to move their position towards a ceasefire somehow.
Okay, right. If you starve a nation into submission, and that's your chosen and only method of achieving your goal, which in this case is allegedly getting the hostages back. That's something I don't think is the main target for one moment. But that said, where was I going with this? Who is this? Oh yeah. Sorry, just got distracted with some comments. Some comments in the chat. She was asking about them moving around and so on and so forth. But that would legitimise, air quotes, war crimes in order to get what you want. And that would tell any other country in the, you know, if there is another hostage situation similar to this one, in another country somewhere else around the world, then they might be led to think, oh well, we'll just copy what Israel did, which would be truly catastrophic, of course. But that's just obviously one of the reasons not to cave into such barbarity. And you really do have to admire the Palestinians' resolve, whereas others might have simply waved a white flag and surrendered. By now they've kept going.
Well, a ceasefire proposal was already on the table for more than 15 months now, and we all know the contours of the ceasefire. There will have to be an immediate and permanent ceasefire. There will have to be exchange of hostages, and I want to remind you, Jackie, we have hostages too in Israeli detention camps and the torture camps, and you have the record for.
It's a one-way situation where the rhetoric on hostages is concerned. It always has been. They only ever mention the hostages that Israel has taken when they're describing exchanges that happened during the last ceasefire period as well, of course. And that's the only time that they come up. I've mentioned numerous times now when going through articles, and if I bring any of the ones about Palestine back up now, I guarantee you those 2 paragraphs at the end will always be there that mention October the 7th and the Israeli hostages. The articles never end or point out the many thousands of hostages that are being held illegally, most of them without charge, in Israeli prisons, Palestinians, and people from other countries as well. No bias, no BBC bias. BBC.
how many thousands of our people have been rounded without trial, without charge,
Okay.
including 360.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I really want to get to this point. We heard Jonathan there saying Sir Keir Starmer appears to be losing patience. He is going to have this emergency call with other leaders.
It's as if she's turned into Liz Kendall or something, isn't it? With the way that she talks, the way that the gum goes right over the teeth, which adds a sense of anger to the way that she's speaking and makes her come across as being so visceral, especially the hand gestures as well. It's almost the same. Now, this is Channel 4 News, and she's essentially going to continue pushing this point, which is erroneous, expecting him to cave in or not say it like it actually is. Does she not know who she's talking to? This is Hamza's umlaut, for God's sake.
European leaders. What do you need them to do now?
Also, the Prime Minister and the British government need to stop just talking. Strong words are not enough. They are not enough. This is the most urgent situation in recent memory. We need action, and action is very well known. I mean, the first thing is to stop providing Israel with the very tools they are using to commit genocide against an entire people, to starve children and people. And the second, they know what needs to be done. Arms embargo, full arms embargo, no half commitments here. This is a legal commitment upon the UK government. Second is accountability. We must make sure that our rules-based international order holds itself now and really hold those war criminals to account. I chosen diplomacy, Jackie, long ago, for I believe in the international order. In fact, my first job was the UN, but today I tell you, all this is in shambles. It's crumbling before our eyes, and if we don't save Gaza, we
Quick, he's telling the truth. You're going to have to cut him off.
would not have saved our international order, and humanity will be...
The devastation.
We'll have to leave it there. You've said far too many facts for their liking. Yeah. What do you make of that, people? Gwenny, thanks for joining us in the chat. They think that we may believe their one-sided view, which always supports the evil state of Israel, but we don't. Yeah, again, they've backed the wrong horse. They know it. And the BBC perhaps came around a little, even though they're involved in the complicity as well, and highlighted how many journalists have been killed. Israel again have reiterated the ban on journalists. They have nothing to hide. They're the good guys. In fact, they should be, singing about their activities from the rooftops and spreading the message throughout the world, but no journalists. When you mention countries where that sort of thing happens, where is it that springs to mind? Places like North Korea. I say places like North Korea, politically, it is quite unique. It's still authoritarian. It's got to be emphasised. But yeah, nothing to hide, just don't want anyone to see what you're doing, that's all. It's so childish as well. It's that's almost the political equivalent of when a kid might think that they can make themselves invisible by shutting their eyes. I can't see you, so nobody can see me. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. just as well you don't have a TV, you would have put your foot through it by now, yeah. I think someone else said earlier in the chat they couldn't destroy a cathode ray tube. Like Rick does at the start of some episodes. Okay people, something a little more positive now just on that side of things. The flotilla, the latest flotilla is making progress. I've got a chart here that shows its progress compared to, for example, the previous effort, the Madeleine, which we all remember and know about, of course. But the new endeavour, the Handala, it's called, you can see is in red there. I'll just make that a little bigger so you can see the progress a bit better. Apologies about the colour key for the lines. This is how I found it. There doesn't seem to be a great deal of distinction between the colours of the Mexican delegates, the Madeleine and the Conscience respectively, other vessels, so I think we can assume, knowing that the Madeleine was, I don't want to use the wrong adjective here, it was hijacked. It was hijacked. It wasn't intercepted, it was hijacked. And the passengers essentially kidnapped. So that will be it just there, south of Cyprus, sort of southeast-ish of Cyprus, as you can see there. And I got this picture earlier on. It was taken this morning, so they'd be a great deal closer now. You can see they've made a lot of progress there. So I think we can expect them to get to the area that the Madeleine, made it to within the next, I'd estimate, 24 hours. So I wish them well. Played a video from Rob, who's one of the people on board, and also a great activist himself as well, on a recent stream. Please do check that out. We'll wish them well. Just one final word on Gaza before I get on to something else. You might have heard about this case of passengers on board a plane who were kicked off, let's be honest, a bunch of little shits. Kicked off a plane. Believe they are Israeli citizens. This happened just yesterday. I'll just make that a bit bigger there. Now they were kicked off the plane. I think one of them was arrested as well for legitimate reasons. But apparently they've attempted to play the race card. And you guessed it, people. The Zionists have wheeled out the old ASBS. Well, let's see what's happening. This is a statement from the airline in relation to events that took place yesterday involving a group of teenage passengers on board a flight from Valencia to Paris. The safety of our passengers and operations is and always will be our top priority. The actions of the onboard staff was solely in response to the behaviour that compromised the integrity of the flight, as well as the safety of the passengers and the operation as a whole. A group of passengers engaged in highly disruptive behaviour and adopted a very confrontational attitude, putting at risk safe conduct of the flight. The group mishandled emergency equipment and actively disrupted the mandatory safety demonstration, repeatedly ignoring instructions from cabin crew. Despite multiple warnings, this inappropriate behaviour persisted, which forced the crew to activate establishment security protocols. The crew, acting in accordance with fueling procedures, requested the intervention of the Guardia Civil, who, after assessing the situation, decided to disembark the group to prioritise the safety of the rest of the campaigners. Once at the terminal, the group's behaviour continued to be aggressive. Some individuals displayed a violent attitude towards the authorities, which even led to the arrest of one of the group's members. We can categorically deny any suggestion that our crew's decision related to the religion of the passengers involved. This decision was taken solely to ensure the safety of all passengers. At fueling, we categorically reject any form of discrimination without exception. We deeply regret that this incident occurred and appreciate the support and understanding of the passengers who were affected by this situation. Yeah, fuck about and find out. I mean, interrupting the, here's the emergency exits, here's how you put your oxygen mask on, safety demonstration. And this is incitement. It is done deliberately to incite, to be confrontational, and then, of course, try and play the race card, but this time it doesn't wash. Yeah, especially now in the post September 11th, 2001 era. You don't fuck about on a plane. You don't fuck about on a plane. The flight was from Valencia to Paris, but if that had taken place on a United States domestic flight, I think they still have those air marshals now, don't they? Who are armed. And of course, you probably shouldn't mess about with those guys because they probably trigger happy enough as it is, and they've probably got the Patriot Act to back them up as well. So yeah, just don't fuck about. That's a despicable display of behaviour, and like I said, it's only there to try and instigate a reaction from people and then play the victim. What a bunch of tossers. A couple of points on climate now. Of course, it is the prevalent global issue in our time. And again, something more positive, although I'm hoping that it's properly implemented, and if it is, then, well, look out, United States of America. Top United Nations court says countries can sue each other over climate change. So hopefully this can also give more power, more representation to countries in the global south, who, despite contributing the least to CO2 output, and therefore climate change itself, are actually suffering the effects of it. First, it's so counterintuitive, topsy-turvy, it's beyond description. So let's see what's happening. So the court has cleared the way for countries to sue each other, including over historic emissions of planet-warming gases. Now, of course, we know the main spike in CO2 levels that's human-caused, of course, not part of any natural cycle, although it does catalyse other natural cycles, but this has been going on since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, for around 200 years. So that could make things very interesting. Just out of interest, the Industrial Revolution began roughly where this live stream is coming to you from this evening. Do I need to get a lawyer? I don't know. Oh no, it's off. Thankfully it's going to be on Starmer. But anyway, the judge at the ICJ in The Hague, of course, hopefully where Starmer will be appearing at some point, said that untangling who caused which part of climate change could be difficult. The ruling is non-binding, but legal experts say it could have wide-ranging consequences. So again, not legally binding. And when you consider the fact that the UK, the US, are behind on their commitments, Trump's just decided to throw everything out the window now. He doesn't even recognise the Paris Climate Agreement. He's done away with that, for example. But a lot of other countries really need to do more. And if they were legally binding and they're not keeping up, then I'm not sure how you can expect them to take this ruling the same, with the same severity, or seriousness, I should say. There was a campaign outside, you can see that. I can see some XR logos in there on the left. This is in the Netherlands, of course. And the case itself was the brainchild of a group of young law students from low-lying Pacific Islands on the front lines of climate change, who came up with the idea 6 years ago. One of the students from Tonga was in The Hague to hear the decision. She says, "I'm lost for words. This is so exciting. There's a ton of emotions rushing through us. This is a win we take proudly back home to our communities." Told BBC News. But I wouldn't get, as I said, too excited too soon. If I was them, not to be pessimistic, I'm just trying to be more realistic here in terms of the speed of politics and legislation alike, twinned with, how the UK, for example, notoriously is dragging its feet. Yes, the UK is no longer issuing new licenses, but not doing nearly enough on renewables. And certainly any talk about nuclear facilities won't solve the energy problems of now. So it could give developing nations a right to seek damages for impacts of climate change, such as destroyed buildings and infrastructure. It's added, where it's not possible to restore part of a country, then its government may want to seek compensation. Good evening, Galwin Hornsey. How are you doing? How are you brewing this evening? Great to see you. Back to the article. This could be for a specific extreme weather event if it can be proved that the climate change caused it. But a judge said this would need to be determined on a case-by-case basis. There's a quote here from Barrister Jennifer Robinson at Doughty Street Chambers, who represented Vanuatu and the Marshall Islands. She said this is a huge win for climate vulnerable states. It's a huge win for Vanuatu, which led this case and is going to change the face of climate advocacy. Now, let's be honest, people, hold your hands up. I will. If you'd have stopped me on the street earlier on today and asked me to point out Vanuatu on a map, I would have been stumped. And let's be honest, the way that sea level rise is going, perhaps Vanuatu, if it's a low-lying island, won't be appearing on any map soon. It'll all just be a light blue. So well done, and there are so many other small island states that are at risk as well, more than ever before in history. Just quickly talking about sea level rise, I'll throw you this statistic, people. Here's one. If all of the land ice on planet Earth melted at the same time, the sea would rise to a level so high that it would go up to the top of the Statue of Liberty's head. In fact, further. In fact, up to the elbow of the arm that's holding up the lamp or the torch. So yes, pretty much every skyscraper in New York would be underwater, is what I'm getting at, people, if you melted all of the land ice. So the islands, that's the Marshall Islands. Just bring the background music in. Highlighted that the costs for their islands to adapt to climate change are $9 billion. And that's one of the things that came up at the recent summits. In fact, there was a mass walkout, wasn't there, if you recall, of several states who simply don't have the big industrial economies to keep up. And they've not done anything to cause it. A lot of these places are still manually agricultural, if they do have agriculture at all, which a lot of them do. Obviously, that's been a thing for thousands of years now as a human species. But they can't exactly just knock up something similar to the Thames Barrier, for example, because they don't have the means, they don't have these big economies, and that just simply isn't fair, you know. Yes, roughly, what is it, around 80% of the people on the planet do live in the Northern Hemisphere. But are you just going to disenfranchise 1 in 5 people in the planet? This is a picture here from the aftermath of a cyclone 10 years ago in Vanuatu, which destroyed, get this people, 276,000 homes and wiped out 2/3 of its GDP. Wow. Like Benjamin Netanyahu's almost getting jealous. 276,000 homes and wiped out 2/3 of its GDP. So they probably weren't even in a position to build the required defences in the first place, and then 66.6 recurring percent of the GDP gone, down. Again, back to a basic form of life, and there was a mass famine which came with that. So as well as compensation, the court also ruled that governments were responsible for the climate impact of companies operating in the countries. I'm hoping that courts also come down on these carbon credit swaps, which are going to come hidden into net zero targets. Now, of course, I think zero carbon is a good target. The word net is very important as well, because essentially it means that countries can pass the buck in terms of responsibility to other countries. I've mentioned this a few times on the channel, but I do think it's really pertinent that people remember that. Kevin Anderson, for example, goes into a lot more detail about that. Professor Kevin Anderson, who used to be director of the Tyndall Centre here in Manchester, I believe. Yeah, someone who I've met quite a few times, had the pleasure of hosting one of his talks as well. So check that out. Former government advisor as well. He knows his stuff, people. YouTuber also, Climate Uncensored, is worth a follow. So condensed version, if a country digs up a fossil fuel and then sells it to another country that consumes it and burns it, whatever, it is they who the buck is passed down to, not the country that extracted the fossil fuel in the first place. Point being that the UK could hypothetically continue to extract fossil fuels whilst claiming zero carbon responsibility, and that's just not right. That's just not fair accounting. And the aforementioned Professor Kevin Anderson rightly describes it as an accountancy scam. So developing countries are already exploring bringing new cases seeking compensation for historic contributions to climate change against richer, high-emitting nations, citing the International Court of Justice opinion. According to lawyers that the BBC spoke to, if a country wants to bring a case back to the ICJ to make a ruling on compensation, it can do so against countries which have agreed to its jurisdiction, which includes the likes of us here in the UK, but not the United States or China. Just again because the United States don't want any responsibility for climate change at all. We all know Trump's a massive denier. As for China, a lot of people bring up China. As a climate protester myself, I've been trolled countless times, and people have said that I should go and protest there in China. I would casually remind them that the Chinese government doesn't represent me, therefore probably won't listen to me, but also mention that they're the biggest producer of wind power in the world by far, and that's only increasing actually, and the way that they're expanding the solar as well with some pretty nifty ideas is certainly something that Donald Trump should take a leaf out of the same book of, but yeah. A case can be brought in any court globally, whether that be domestic or international, citing the ICJ opinion, explained Joy Chowdhury from CIEL. So instead, a country might choose to take their case not to the ICJ, but a court where those countries are bound, for example, federal courts in the United States. Also, there could perhaps be a legal inroad to America. Is that what they're trying to suggest? If so, then that would be good, because you've got to say they're responsible for a lot. Drill baby drill is what Trump said. And that's the most important point there. Just finish with that. The question remains whether the ICJ opinion will be respected. I have to realistically say that I do have my doubts. But it is certainly a move in the right direction even though it might not have the power, the efficacy that a lot of people might hope at this point. That's another good point there, Genie Bottle in the chat there. Trump's absolutely, yeah, decimating departments for environment. So air, water and ground going unregulated, completely unregulated. Just leave it to the free market. You know, they wouldn't literally murder us all for a short-term profit or anything. Honest. So do share your thoughts about that new legislation with me, people. Let's see what you're thinking in the chat. And back in the comments, of course. Make sure you hit thumbs up on the stream. I'm going to be rounding off myself shortly here, but do stick around, people. We could be doing a raid into another channel, so stay put for that. I will quickly say thank you, of course, to all the members on the channel. Just 1 second. Here we go. And thanks for the gifted memberships tonight as well. Do appreciate those as always. Also, forgot to mention earlier, another shout out. We've had some coffees as well on the Buy Me a Coffees, so thanks for those. And 1 or 2 super thanks as well. Awesome stuff, people. Solidarity. And yeah, great to see the Brew crew expanding. Got a good bunch of people here. And you can join this list of people. It's just 99p if you'd like to get your name on the roster of Marvellous members. And there are perks, there are benefits. Please do check them out. You can barely get a chocolate bar for that these days, as someone pointed out in the chat. Which I will just quickly bring back onto the screen. Whilst I have a scan, see what we can raid into. Thanks again to Kevin Logan, raiding in from his channel this evening. Great stuff. Go and check him out. Go and subscribe. Helena at No Justice is still live. There's a couple of other channels on as well. We're in this space. Went to this space last time. Surf Times is on. But I think we will go to Helena at No Justice. An excellent choice, I'm sure you'll agree. So stick around, people. Make sure you hit thumbs up on the No Justice stream when we get over in just a moment. But phew, just about managed to get through all those articles and stuff. Thanks a lot for joining me tonight, people. Really do appreciate you being here. Again, thanks for those comments on the last video content on the channel. I'm getting back to as many of those as I can at the moment. They've been coming in thick and fast. But the more the merrier. Right, that'll be it from me. I'll see you on the No Justice stream. Take care, my left. I'll be seeing you soon, people. Free Palestine and power to the people. Good night.